Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks. Today taking a look at Factions and Factious. New map to me. This is actually the first game I've seen on it, and I love this art style. We've got these beautiful little hexagon tilings here, kind of carving out some interesting geometries. You can see we've got a bit of a sloped landscape here and there, as well as some water puddles too, which are going to be really interesting. Now I do notice that the tidal power here is really bad, so probably not going to be... Whoops. Sorry about that. Something just fell off my wall. What was I talking about? Oh, that's right. The tidal power is really bad here. 10 tidal power. That's pretty inefficient. So we're probably not going to see that. I mean, it's possible, but it's not really that efficient. A wonderful commenter did the math breakdown, and I haven't double checked the numbers, but if assuming that it was correct, essentially the efficiencies linger around the 20 tidal mark. That's when things start to get ridiculously efficient for that tidal power. So this match probably not going to end up looking like that. But let's meet our players, shall we? On this beautiful purple match, spawning on the western side, representing our red team, we have Steel Blue. sort of a contradictory name, huh? Yeah, Steel Blue going to be our red team leader. Despite the blue name, going for a vehicle lab, which I think is a great idea. We can see this nice open flat terrain that their lane is going to be, well, that their lane is, right, that their lane is made out of. A little bit of a word stall there. I've started, beyond all reason has leaked into my life because I've now started referring to things in my life as stalling. Like I went to buy groceries and one of my cards was declined. And so I was like, hey, I didn't say this to the cashier, but in my head I was like, whoops, I'm money stalling. And I was like, oh man, I need to take a break. But no, I'm absolutely addicted, and I cannot get enough. Cannot get enough here of the blue team spawning on the eastern corner. Nutcrack, not Nutcracker like you would bring out in the joyous festivities. No, this is Nutcrack, similar to a butt crack, but quite different. Never mind. I was going to get into a description, but maybe maybe I'll leave that to your imaginations. Nutcrack going to be leading the blue team here. Cortex bot player. These solar panels, man, I got to tell you, I've been playing a lot of games recently. I was cracking down pretty hard on the solar panels. I was making a lot of fun of people that were using a ton of solar panels in my T1 games, or in my low true skill games. I mean, the T1 solar panels in those low true skill games that I've been looking at. And, I figured as a courtesy, as like a fairness to maintain my credentiality as a commentator, I should probably play a couple matches and give them a try, right? Because it's actually been a while since I'd played the game. And, I went and I played some games, both as Cortex and Armada, even though I'm a lot less familiar with the Cortex toolkit. But I went and played a couple of games, and I tried out starting with solar panels as opposed to wind turbines on a lot of the maps that had pretty good wind. I would say this map has really good wind, especially good right now since it's maxed out. I mean, probably would feel different if that number was a whole lot lower, but certainly right now the wind speed is absolutely phenomenal. So I'd love to see energy converters, by the way. But yeah, I went and I tried it out, and I have to say I lost every match that night. Now, I will say that I felt pretty confident. Like, my builds did work out pretty well. It was difficult to balance the late game where I had to eat up my metal extractors, had to remember to do that. It was just an extra, couple APM that I had to spare. But that wasn't too terrible. But yeah, I went on a horrible win streak. So, I'm not saying that it was those T1 solar panels. But look, all I'm saying is I played, gosh, I don't know, maybe 5 games, and I think I won one of them. So, not feeling too great about the T1 solar panels. Maybe that wasn't a fair spread. I know a sample size of 5 isn't too tremendous, but there's something going on here. Anyways, this game, I guess I should mention. Oh, my numbers keep disappearing. I think there was an update. I think recently there was an update that changed some of the settings, changed the menus for some of the settings, and I think it accidentally changed the configuration files. It's that, or it was because I changed my nickname in game to include Brightworks. That way I don't include the OP Big Dolphy himself. I don't confuse the OP Big Dolphy himself. I mean, I guess this will be a really quick impromptu tutorial. If you go to settings and you go to interface, and you can see right here is where you do the open skill value. You just click that on and it shows the number right here. Income values, we also like to have that on. It shows the numbers on the side, by the way, in case you're curious. But anyway, let's get back to this game here. So you can see these players are proper high-level players. 29, 26, 27, 19. Yeah, all very, very 21. All very high-skilled players here. Everybody knows what they're doing. And it is a 4v4, which I guess I should mention. I am also a huge fan of these 4v4 matchups because the aggression starts up really quick. The aggro starts up really quick. You can see these units, or these players rather, are not afraid to get units out on the field and get their hands dirty with a little bit of action here and there. The 4v4 is a really nice balance between the benefits of the 1v1 gameplay and the drawbacks of the 8v8 gameplay. So typically in 8v8, the thing that you don't have to deal with that you do in the 1v1 gameplays, at least in my experience, from what I can tell watching a couple of these games, is you don't have to deal with necessarily backline harassment, like this sort of thing, units in your backline. It's usually a lot less prevalent in the 8v8s because you have everyone on your team covering their lanes, right? So everybody is looking at all these lanes, and you don't have to worry about that so much. Or at the very least, it's less for you individually to deal with as opposed to the team having to deal with that. However, in a 4v4, there's still plenty of room for that. Case in point here, Steel Blue sneaking a bunch of blitzes and rovers around the map and getting them into the back line. Now, there is tons of laser turrets, which is really, really nicely done here by Fill My Crack. Lovely name there. we've got Nutcrack and Fill My Crack. Part of the same clan, certainly. But you can see there's plenty of room for these run-bys here, and they can be really, really dangerous. Because not only does this run-by really hurt the purple player here, but I would be surprised if these units didn't leak over into the blue or the green production base as well after they're done ravaging these backlines. Now this is one of those examples where I think it might be called for to self-destruct your metal extractors or your laser turrets and whatnot to try and do like maximum damage to these units when they run by. But that is a really properly difficult thing to do. I mean, even some of the highest true skill players we see fail to do that, and it's just. It comes down to APM efficiency, right? Is it really worth spending the APM self-destructing your own units and trying to get that timing just right? And then you risk accidentally detonating it early too, and that causes problems. So overall, it's a really, really difficult thing to balance. Looks like we've got some counter-aggression here, but there is tons and tons of blitzes coming out of Steel Blue. In fact, there's tons of blitzes coming out of everyone. We do see incisors here. Coming out of Edgeman, the copycat copycat blitzes, the wannabe blitzes. But yeah, blitzes are just super prevalent in this meta right now. I would say they're probably the most common vehicle choice that Cortex, or Armada rather, seems to be going with. Cortex is going against, I suppose. I can understand why. They're relatively tanky, at least compared to, say, Pawns or Grunts. They're quick. They're super quick. And they also have the added benefit of those twin close-range Gauss cannons, of course, which are really, really dangerous. They also have the really slim profile, very, very low-down profile, and it allows them to fire when they're clumped up together really, really effectively. So you don't have to spread them out in a line the same way that you have to do with the tanks or... Well, I guess the tanks can kind of shoot over each other, but I guess a better example might be the Pawns or the Grunts or something like that. Line fire weapons, for sure. A bunch of these incisors pushing forward, but there's actually tons of static defense here. This beamer turret is carrying the weight of the world on its shoulders here. Same with this pop-up lighting turret. It is melting down these incisors at a pace, cutting through their thin armor plating like it's nothing. Really love the beamer turret. I think if there's definitely one piece of advice I can give my Armada players, it's to just try out the beamer turret. Because you look at this thing, I mean, for a cost of 190, which is, I think it's just about double the cost of a light laser turret. Yeah, it's exactly double, right? 180? Yeah, 190. So, yeah, so it's exactly the double the cost of a light laser turret, but you get just enough more range to make it worth it, and the damage per second is going to be much more powerful. I would definitely say recommend it, especially if your unit is using bots. Vehicles is a little harder to justify because those artillery can be really, really powerful. This is an interesting spot for a gauntlet. I will try to justify this the best that I can, but I don't see a great reason for it. I suppose with, well, okay, actually, if you set it to high trajectory, it will be able to shoot over this mountain here. Well, I'm assuming it will anyway. The mountain is pretty high. No, it should definitely be able to clear that, though. And it should be able to actually rain down on these metal extractors, which will be really nice. That's an interesting position. I wouldn't have thought to put a gauntlet there, but yeah, I think that might actually be able to get some value out here for Ancien. Or yellow player. Front lines are drawn. Blue is spread extremely thin here. Nutcrack spreading themselves thinly. God, I shouldn't say that. Anyway, yeah, Nutcrack is, however, spread extremely thinly on the front lines here, and that's dangerous. They are covering a lot of this middle ground here. They're covering a lot of the northern ground. I would actually love to see a little bit more aggression coming out here, since we know that our opponent's lane is mostly invested in this middle high ground here. We could probably see a little bit more aggression coming out in this area. We do have the radar getting us vision of this. Let's take a look at what we see. Yeah, okay, so we kind of have a vision of what's going on over here, so I'd love to see a little bit of aggression, maybe a couple of grunts, just 4 or 5 grunts, routed around through here, and they can either come down here and go up north, or they can go down south this way. Dare I say that they might even try to sneak through this lane right here, come into the back, and then try and harass from the back lane. Of course, that leaves this entire section open, and you can get a whole lot of value out that way. Meanwhile, a bunch of thugs are pressing forward here, and those can be really dangerous. Those thugs certainly can tear down commanders pretty quick. Luckily, this commander is getting a little massage from these grave robbers. I always think the grave robbers look like they're praying like some sort of cultist. Hope you guys like my Gregorian throat singing. Not quite, but I don't want to whip that one out. It might be too hard on the ears. Don't want to do that without a cover on the microphone. Otherwise, things might get a little too intimate in here. God, I have no hope of pronouncing this name. We're going to call you the orange player here, in quite a lot of trouble. We are using the aggravators really well. Yeah, the aggravators, not the agitator. Agitator is the gauntlet counterpart, the T1 artillery, artillery unit, or structure that you can build, rather. Struggled with that one for a while, huh? Nutcrack is unrelenting, though. These thugs are continuing to step forward, and this commander cannot catch a break. Every turret they try to put up, the thugs are right on top of tearing down, and there's a huge metal stall. You can see we've actually got some T1 medium tanks from the blue player sneaking in up north. Didn't miss those. And it looks like, meanwhile, the red and hot pink lines are collapsing here. Steel blue and Edgeman pushing in here. But again, these beamer turrets are so dangerous to these medium tanks. They really are just strong enough to melt through that armor. Just quick enough to be dangerous, especially in numbers here. The beamers are a great example of double the turrets is double the damage per second, because it really is. I mean, that's all these turrets are. That's like their specialty, is they do damage over time. Okay, we do get it. There is quite a lot of tanks moving forward here, and this is a huge threat. Helping me cast this by pinging all the relevant information on the screen. Orange player in quite a lot of trouble here, but let's keep our eyes over here on these medium tanks that have busted through. A lot of these are super high health. One of them is down to 2%, but all the rest are looking really healthy, and there's absolutely no means of response here. We are producing units out of this lab, but if we keep moving these tanks forward, things are going to get really dire here for our orange player really quick. Was that a self-destruct? No, it wasn't. It was just the debris going up in smoke here. Take out those construction turrets if you can. There we go. Construction turrets do go down, which slows down production. That's always lovely, and maybe we'll get an advanced solar. That would be quite nice. Yeah, it looks like we... Oh, whoa. Spoke a little too soon. 3% health of that bad boy. And we will not get it. A lot of yellow forces were routed, though, and so I wouldn't be surprised if Luna was going to make a little bit of a push forward here. We can see the Gauntlet taking those shots right here, and we can see it raining down Hellfire Supreme on this thing. Now, this was given a attack command, and then shifted and given another... It was another attack command was queued, essentially. That does not work, because unless you can see the building that you're destroying, it actually will continue to permanently think that there's still something there. Bit of a micro mistake there, but definitely not the end of the world. This is a huge blunder, though, right here in the middle of the map. This is all taken over by the blue player, which is going to give them a tremendous advantage. We do see the T2 bot lab out, starting to build up some metal. We hopefully are going to hand out some T2 constructors to the rest of our teammates that don't have them, although we already have a T2 lab up for the purple player as well, so... Really, it's only the north and the south that are slacking on the technology centers, but the middle of the map has done a tremendous job eating up all of that metal that the opponent was feeding to us, and now the armies are looking downright unstoppable. Bunch of these grave robbers here trying to assist the armies. They are going to resurrect as opposed to reclaiming here. Interesting decision. Yep, the tanks are going to break this line. Well, they're going to hurt it, but I guess they won't collapse on it entirely here. They do tear down a whole bunch of those thugs, though, and they decide to retreat out of there. Decide it's not worth it, and we're just going to get some T2 units out and about first. We do have constructors produced. We have 3 constructors and 3 twitchers. Maybe we're going to give those to teammates. Maybe we're just going to spread them around the map and start upgrading to T2 metal extractors. Either one would work phenomenally. Green making a little bit of a push here, too, and that is quite nice. I do love to see these missile trucks spread out. They're a really interesting unit. They're well, first of all, they're anti-air. That's the least of their uses. But it is important to know that in case you have to deal with shurikens, which is, well, if you played bar for any amount of time, you're going to have to deal with those someday. I wish you didn't have to, but it is part of the game. And they are downright powerful, by the way, if you are a Cortex player. Learn to invest in shurikens early on. You're going to be really grateful for it. Especially if you're on a frontline position and you're not really so interested in teching, you're going to leave that to your backline. Think about getting an air lab out and building some of those shurikens, because they can definitely turn a devastating T1 push into a null push, a null factor overall. Resbots here patching together an army to counter blues by resurrecting units off the floor. Never a bad idea, especially if you have control over this field, but I would love to see a few more Resbots mixed into this army here. That, of course, is difficult to manage while we are also contesting a front line up north, which is being built up right now. So all that metal is, well, a lot of it anyway, is being spent on these turrets. You can see 16 metal a second and 169 energy a second going into these heavy laser turrets. It's actually not enough, though. But yeah, I do quite like that we're resurrecting off the front lines there. That's really good to see. Slowly, these welders are pushing forward to the front lines. I hear Jaguars. Yeah, they're there. Steel Blue has Jaguars down here, and those are really dangerous. As far as tanks are concerned, they're relatively light, but they can do a tremendous amount of damage. Sort of a glass cannon, if you are familiar with that sort of saying. Just all damage, no health. Very, very good for driving away clusters of units. So T1 spam, definitely very, very powerful. They're also good against some of the T2 units too, some of the lighter T2 units, Sprinters, Fiends, Sheldon, certainly. They're really good against Sheldon, but more so just because they're fast enough to catch up with them and do a tremendous amount of damage. This artillery has definitely gotten its value out, though, I have to say. This actually turned into a really, really nice strategic decision here by Ancien. I doubted it at first, surely, but by now I can actually see that this was a really well-positioned artillery, and it's definitely getting its value out. I'd love to see it changed up here. I don't know how much vision we actually have. Can we get a radar up? Yeah, we need a radar somewhere over on this side. Our current radar is actually blocked by the mountain here. Yeah, it looks like it's right here, and you can see we actually can't see very far with this radar. Huge push right here from Yellow, pushing forward with blitzes, Jaguars, medium tanks, maces, thugs, whatever we can find. The whole battlefield has been scavenged and turned against the blue player, and now we're going to collapse on this entire front line. I'm not so sure about turning these and trying to kill the front line. I think we'd be better off just running these through this direction and trying to kill the economy center in the back line. I think that just might work out a little better, but who's to say? Maybe if we kill the entire front line, we can collapse on top of all this. Could end up working out in our favor. A single, well, I guess there's a few Sheldon actually, 3 of them. They're good and they do a decent amount of damage, but you really need them in numbers. You need to hit critical mass as quick as you can. Otherwise, they still fail to provide more efficient firepower than a lot of the T1 stuff can give you. We see a few hero thugs marching around the side here. They sneak past the twin guard, and they do get into this forward windmill line, which is a bit odd, but I guess we're building windmills wherever we have the build power for it, so I guess it's not terrible. Thugs eventually go down, and the front line is held by a row of thugs, as well as there were a couple fiends, but it looks like they have gone up. Here or there. Yeah, you can see the fiend debris. Very nice. I'm going to turn the music down a little bit. Reclaim bots patching together this front line. It's actually really interesting. Now we have our own static defenses. The wreckages of the static defenses that were now folded into our own army, as well as a pop-up flamethrower. Flamethrower turret, rather. Very nicely done. But the welders have moved up north, and that does mean that T1 aggression will essentially be shut down. Those welders are very tanky. They do tremendously against T1 units. Static defense as well. Yeah, they melt through anything. They're pretty slow, but they definitely get the job done. They are absolutely your T2 assault bot standard. I guess the Sumo would be the Cortex counterpart there. In my mind, that's what comes forward. But I guess I would rather use Fiends than Sumos. Although I think the same amount of the same amount of welders would beat fiends, but also the welders are way more expensive. So it's kind of, you know, that's a optimistic scenario. We do have Mausers and Bulls pumped out in the front lines. Bulls are very expensive, but for the price you pay, you get a tremendous unit out of it. They can do a tremendous amount of damage. They have a huge health pool. They are absolutely a T2 unit. They're borderline a T3 unit. They are a couple health, a couple hit points, a little bit of speed away from being a downright proper T3 unit. Now this push has no answer. We are on T3 or T2 production rather. We do have the Bull in the chamber, but we are busy building a Beamer as opposed to the Bull. I think I would have liked to see the Bull a little bit more. The Beamer's good, don't get me wrong. You can definitely do some work here, but that Bull could have been really, really powerful. Beamer will go down as well as most of the green base here, and there's not currently a phenomenal answer. We are sending sharpshooters over. That's a great idea. Sharpshooters are going to melt through these T1 medium tanks with ease. Basically, every shot they fire is going to be a dead T1 medium tank. The Bulls are going to take some heavy hits, too. The Bulls take a couple hits from the sharpshooter. I want to say 2 or maybe 3. Probably 3, I think, actually, now that I think back. Recall from the depths of my memory the games that I've seen with those. But these tanks aren't done yet, and they're still sneaking around the side here doing damage to whatever they can. They do find some T2 metal extractors. Always annoying when these get killed, because you just know that they're going to be really difficult to replace. You either have to get a T2 constructor over there, or some res bots or something in order to deal with that, and it is a pain. Huge group of fiends are now directed towards these Bulls. Bulls have no problem dealing with fiends, especially if they're clumped up here. But the fiends, if they can get the jump on the Bulls, then they can do a tremendous job. Now, the Mausers are also contributing a nice little field of fire here whenever they can land their shots, and that is important that they land their shots. It doesn't happen all the time, but whenever they do, it is a huge, huge hit. T1 units melting away like paper. T2 units, they don't stand much chance either. But with the welders, the fiends, the sharpshooters, everyone teaming up together, it's like the Avengers out here. Everybody is getting in on this and happy to play this game. The northern part of the map has stalled significantly. Is Luna teching? We do have a cloakable fusion reactor. That's kind of interesting. It is nice because if bombers came through to this area here, they would see a row of advanced solar panels and a couple of metal extractors. And at least in my mind, I would definitely go after the advanced solar panels, given the choice here. So yeah, it's actually a pretty good decision. I'm starting to like those quite a bit. Meanwhile, this push has been cleaned up down south. Xenodragon is still in the game, has not tapped out yet. I would love to see a constructor handed over. Yeah, you know, that's always an option, right? Keep your teammates in the game, let them build up on the back. You never know how much they're going to be able to do in the late game here. It's never a bad idea to hand them over a constructor. I mean, what does it really cost you? Xenodragon, ask in the chat, can I get a con plus some res bots? The cost is very low. The potential outcome is potentially very high, so always a decent idea to consider that if one of your players gets completely ruined. Constructor was handed off down or up north rather, and that's not a bad idea. It does have quite a walk to go here, but certainly it will eventually get down there. I wouldn't mind maybe seeing purple hand one off. Might have been a little bit easier here. We are starting up a T1 bot lab, and I wonder if that's to get some res bots out. That would be quite nice. Fill my crack. Building quite a lot of static defense right here. I guess we're a little bit traumatized from all of those pushes. Blue's still maintaining a huge force down south as well. We've got these Sheldons in a nice little line trying to deny these Mauser any attempts breaking through here. The Mauser do not have a vision assist here. There is a radar coming up though, and once that kicks in, I think these Mauser will start to fire. Yep, there they go. And we can see just how much damage they do. Yeah, those Mauser, man, they can really lay the hurt down. Really strong unit. You definitely need something to support them. You need at least a flak vehicle. We need at least a flak vehicle, and we need at least a couple tanks in front as well. Rattlesnake wars here. This is the battle of the artillery, where a couple of units would have been much better. Also, a huge group of construction bots here, or construction vehicles rather. Love to see these rattlesnakes turn their nasty heads towards this direction. Also, a Juno right around here would be quite nice. Fiends have broken through, and they start pushing into the back lines of the yellow player, burning down light laser defenses, burning down T2 metal extractors that we don't even have the energy for. Oh, we're just a second away from completing a fusion reactor here. That really is a shame that these are running through right on time. Whoa! Nuclear bombers are out, and I didn't even notice them. Took down a commander right there in the middle of the map. This is a huge play. What on earth? 3 scout planes are sent out, as well as 2 nuclear bombers, diving in to bomb this entire facility, and they get the factory, taking it down to rubble. The bombers aren't done yet, though. They're going to go after the fusion reactors, which is definitely the right target here. 1 fusion reactor goes up in smoke. Wow, it only takes 1 shot from the nuclear bomber in order to kill these. So devastating, man. I absolutely love these planes. Look how cool they look. It's going to come around for a second pass, and that is the blue player's entire production facility wiped out. Ooh, it gets the flak instead. That's a really nice move. What's the hell on that thing looking like? Ooh, it's pretty low. It's got another bomb ready, though. These things recharge their nuclear bombs really quickly. Does get the second fusion reactor. Oh, doesn't quite chain react the wind turbines here, but it definitely could. Man, what a heavy hit. That is really going to slow down the blue player's production here. This nuclear bomber is now just harassing the back line. Looks like it's just going to try and blow up any of these metal extractors, whatever. This is when you're really grateful that you built those those cloaked fusion reactors. Luckily, there was a flak here as well. Well, it wasn't really luck. They definitely saw the nuclear bomber and contributed or put a flak down in their base to solve that problem. Also very nice, I did notice that we handed over one of these cloaked fusion reactors to help out our blue team. Help out our blue player, rather. That's really important. We'll love that teamwork. I think we see more important teamwork in these 4v4s, 5v5s, 3v3s, the sort of the lesser ones. I think the teamwork comes out in greater force, which is just really lovely to see. Love when we see these joint efforts here. At this point, a couple of Tigers are out. Going to be very nice if they can sneak up on the back lines here. There are some sharpshooters with charged shots over here. Oh, they do hit. 3 shots to take down a Tiger. Man, it must take quite a few to take down a bull then. It must be like 5. But anyway, these do manage to jump on the artillery lines in the back, which is quite nice. It's definitely where you want to be with these. But those artillery do take him down. I always overestimate the Tiger. I always compare it to the bull. I mean, it is the counterpart to the bull, but it's nowhere near the bull. It's not really the same thing. The T2 lab flipping out here as these welders get into the base of orange proper. And yeah, things start melting away real quick as soon as those snipers get their hands on them. Suddenly, orange player here with no, I don't even want to try it. Our orange player forced to make a full retreat here as a bunch of Jaguars are trying their very best to leap on this artillery line. Having a really hard time, though, these sharpshooters melting these Jaguars away with just a single shot every time they can even get close. Pop go the Jaguars. I love the sharpshooter. By far one of my favorite Armada units. So dangerous, so damaging. And just what a beautiful concept, right? It just charges up its one shot, takes its perfect shot, and then retreats. Disappears into the night, was never even there. We did have a perspective fusion reactor coming up here, but that will not be completed. No aggression down south, so really the only aggression here is coming out of the purple player. Purple and blue, rather. We do have a nuclear bomber here, and we are using it to mop up some of these aggressors. Yet we are... Well, we're trying to burn down some of these sharpshooters. Blow up some of these sharpshooters, I should say. There we go. That's a great hit. Taking out 3 of the sharpshooters. I'd love to see another hit on some of these welders. That would be great. Just anything that's clumped up, really. See the AoE on this is quite large. Could certainly take out a few of them with a single shot here. Very nicely done. Those sharpshooters are the real danger here. The welders can do a lot of damage, but this pop-up turret is going to be more than enough to deal with them. The real damage is those sharpshooters, because if they get a single shot off on, say, a fusion reactor or anything like that, you're going to be in a world of trouble. Razorbacks are out too. So red has gone properly into T3 production down south here. You can see that without the player in their lane to contest them, it really hasn't been a problem. Would have loved to see these Sheldon marching forward. There's actually a huge army. We've got Sheldon, Thugs, Fiends, all sorts of stuff down here. Would have loved to see that march forward, apply a little bit of pressure to red, but it's too late now. The T3 units are out and about. It's going to be really difficult to deal with those. I will say sharpshooters are the way to go here, and since we already had those in production, it would be too hard to start up some more. Indeed, we do already have them coming out here. What's our unit composition at the moment? We've got, it's just welders and sharpshooters. I'd probably advise that we mix in some radar and radar jammers here and there. And then maybe a Archangel every once in a while as well. Just to keep things nice and fresh. Gonna make sure you keep any of those pesky shuriken off your case, and also gonna deal with those nuclear bombers, which at this point we've seen quite a bit, so you know, you gotta be very wary of those. Pulsar is constructed on the front line. This is definitely the ultimate siege technology for if you're in one of these stalemates here. I mean, these bubbles are touching. How forbidden is that? How cursed. But yeah, the Pulsar is a great option, because obviously you're just gonna be able to, snipe everything. Immediately, the shield bubble is targeted. I think we were targeting the rattlesnake, but we accidentally targeted the shield bubble on mistake, but just as well, it is gonna allow this artillery to start sieging this base really, really nicely. And with just a few shots, we can see that this rattlesnake is melted down by the Pulsar. We do have a Starlight moving in. It's a very good option for applying siege here, but it is no match for the static defense. Yeah, and suddenly that siege is completely broken. That wall is completely broken, rather. The Marauders, whoa, the Marauders have moved in down here. Very, very dangerous stuff, especially considering these are amphibious as well, so they can cross these water pools. So if there was any kind of contest here, which there isn't, the Marauders would be able to dip across this pool and appear on the other side, which could potentially be a really big problem. Purple forces are moving forward to try and apply a little bit of counter pressure, but there's actually too many tanks here for these sharpshooters to handle, and so they are going to get jumped upon. Meanwhile, the Marauders have torn apart the green base once more, and they are leaking into the purple facilities. Purple player almost had a advanced fusion reactor up and running, but I'd actually like to see it stop now, because if that finishes and explodes, ooh, which it looks like it might, oh, this could be really bad. Advanced fusion reactor actually finishes up, and the Marauders are right on top of it. And that does mean that this base is going to light up like a Christmas tree. Down go the red Marauders. But also the entire purple production base. Was it a fair trade? You tell me. I wouldn't be too happy. We have an EMP bomber out. That's a great option for dealing with these Marauders. That's one way to get T2 units into a decent engagement against those Marauders. Stun them. Paralyze them. And, I mean, at that point you can use T1 if you want. You can take as long as you'd like. That's really the beauty of EMP is it's not like it, I mean, well, it does no damage, right? But what it does is it lets you take as long as you want to whittle down those defenses. We've got tick production here. We've got the blue army marching forward. We do have these Manticore. Sorry, these are the Cortex equivalent to the Archangel. I think they're basically the same thing. I think they both do the same thing. They have a little flat cannon that they can fire. You can see that on top of their head, as well as 4 missile launchers that fire those beautiful purple anti-air missiles. Really great stuff. At this point, there are T3 out, though, and they're going to be happy to jump on top of these Sheldon. This force actually isn't nearly as imposing as I thought it was. Yeah, this is mostly just kind of siege units. We don't really have an assault unit mixed in here, and those Marauders are going to be more than enough to deal with that. There's some Marauders over here, and I'm wondering why these are retreating. They could probably push in here. There's 4 snipers, which I think would kill one of these Marauders, but not before the remaining 3 jumped on top of on top of those snipers. Gunships are out here, and they're doing some work. I think these were tuned just recently. I believe the Roughneck was given a little bit of a balance update. I think it does a bit more AoE now. I'll have to go check those patch notes. There was quite a significant balance update, actually. A lot of interesting stuff changed. The Tremor has gotten a rework, so it now has an alternate fire mode, which is quite interesting. I think it has like more range, more AoE, but slightly less damage or something like that. Nuclear bomber is out here for the blue player. Would be quite nice to send this in and destroy all these facilities here. We do get a look at these facilities over here, though. Yep, that's a great target. Whoa, 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 whoa. Getting a little bit comfortable here. It seems like there's a little bit of confusion about what we should be doing here. The roughneck, here we go. Is our AoE field a little bigger? Does look like their AoE field is a little bigger. I think their firing is a little faster too. Whoa, we found the advanced fusion reactor with the nuclear bomber. If we can get a second hit off on this, it's going to be huge. Coming back for a second pass, we do get it. And there goes the entire yellow base. Blown to smithereens by a single nuclear bomber before the red fighters could intercept. That hurts. You can see the orange players trying to rebuild in the back line here, doing their very best, and doing a pretty good job. We've got a fusion reactor up and running. We're about to finish our energy converter. But it will not be long before these forces find the orange alcove. Meanwhile, that push from the Marauders has failed. Fizzled out down south. We are trying to resurrect this advanced fusion reactor, which is quite nice. We're building a lot of build power here, but we actually need more energy production. Team might be willing to leak a bunch of energy in order to resurrect here, but I think that's the main limitation, is that we don't have enough energy to actually resurrect at full potential here. Full clip. Only 200 energy per second going into that, and I think that's definitely not enough. Another big Marauder push is being lined up over here, though. We do see some of that static defense coming up as well. Always nice to see. I've learned that if you couple the T2 walls with one of these beamer turrets, they can actually be quite nice. Also, for anybody who didn't know, if you hold Shift, Control, and Alt all at the same time, you can wrap buildings. Yeah, look at that. You can wrap buildings in walls. It's the only thing that I think it's applicable for. I mean, technically, you can wrap buildings in whatever buildings you would like here. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's kind of a funny thing to mess with. But yeah, there you go. Advanced fusion reactor is almost, well, not almost actually. It's only 45% of the way done. I hear another nuclear bomber going off. Oh, we do have another one here. It looks like we're trying to take down this facility that was built by the yellow player here. Sort of a siege thing. Siege position. But it won't succeed. The position won't, by the way. I meant the position won't. The bombers have done phenomenally. We've already taken down the shield, so that will cave eventually. But this Marauder push is quite devastating. Oh, this fusion reactor was close, 70% of the way up, but it does not finish. EMP bombers are going to be used this time. Those Marauders have a light anti-air missile on their backs, so they can shoot up at those planes. A guided ground-to-air missile launcher. I guess it's not technically light, but it does very little damage. See, it took 3 of them there to take down one of these planes. Maybe it was 2 of them. Yeah, 2 of them to take down the T1 planes. So relatively light here. Bulwark's trying to stand its ground, do the best it can, but there's just too much Marauder in Blue's backline at the moment. We built some forward fusion reactors to at least power this aggression that we've got going on here. But certainly these Marauders in the backline hurt quite a lot. We're going to need some sort of response. Razorback, that's a great idea. We are starting up the Razorbacks to deal with these Marauders. Could we finish a single Razorback? Be 3,800 metal? I think we might be able to get one out if we focused all of our build power, but it looks like we're going to go for a little bit of static defense first. Not a terrible idea. 24? It might have been really close. The Pitbull can do decent damage to these Marauders here. A couple % off every time. We've got some Impulse Bombers as well. Also pretty decent. They do enough damage to those T3 to be considerable, but the Marauder get their target, find their mark, and take out the advanced fusion reactors for Luna, decimating that player's production as well. More Marauders are leaking through the base, and that is a critical hit here to the blue player's economy. The blue team's economy, I should say. Gunships are out now, and those are also a decent way to deal with these Marauders. Again, that anti-air is a light anti-air, so it doesn't do a tremendous amount against these T2 ships, which are quite tanky. Airships, that is. Meanwhile, a huge row of defense has been built over here. A bunch of pit bulls and rattlesnakes. This is like a band-aid on a bleeding wound. We're trying to keep the enemy units from streaming into our base here, but it is going to be difficult. Meanwhile, the same thing can be said over here. Bombers trying their best to work on these Marauders here. It's not an ideal scenario, but it's certainly better than nothing. bombers trying to line up a nice little shot, but this mountain is becoming a difficult hazard here. Rattlesnake was finished. What's the range on that thing? Oh yeah, we actually have a pretty good range on this. It could technically fire over here. Excuse me, could technically fire over here. Then it would bounce off into the distance. Might be worth considering. Wow, we've actually got a Thor all the way around into the back lines as well. Definitely grounds for a D-gun if we wanted to here. The blue team does have all 4 commanders remaining. Razorback is out to defend the red production centers over here as well, and the blue player is back up and running. That fusion reactor was never killed. Their advanced energy converter was never killed. The blue player taps out. Luna will be in charge of taking over the production facilities here, rerouting the forces, reorganizing the defense. Yeah, things are not looking good. We have this Thor slowly creeping up this line. Very, very slow on these ramps here. But it looks like as soon as that Thor showed its ugly head, it was enough for the blue team to realize that they had been beat. Very, very nicely done. That was a really close game. That was really back and forth. Everyone's economies got sniped by something here and there. Really big hits from those nuclear bombers on both teams, might I add. But eventually the red team was able to win it out. Thanks a ton for watching. If you like these barcasts, feel free to subscribe down below. I do bring, well, twice daily bar content. Not always a barcast. Sometimes we do, well, we're going to be starting up critiques soon. That's going to be fun. Fun little cast adjacent series that'll be fun to do here. But there's also other stuff too, loads of tutorials and some awesome community members, so we'd love to have you. Anyways, thanks a ton for watching, and I hope to see you again in the next video.